All right, guys. So today I have the special privilege of bringing you a guest I am super excited about. Her name is Jennifer Seeno Tucker. She is the associate broker and VP of business development at Exit Realty, which is the seventh largest real estate brokerage in North America in Nassau County, New York. So you're going to love her accent. It's so much cooler than mine. And then she also has an amazing book called Become a Rockstar Real Estate Agent, 7 Steps to Making $100,000 a Year. So we're going to dig into all of this. But thank you so much, Jennifer, for being on the show today.
No, thank you, Stephanie. I really am looking forward to our conversation. I know we were cut short quickly last week, but hey, like you said, things happen for a reason. So here we are.
Awesome. So give the audience a bit of a background if they're not familiar with who you are, so they kind of understand your experience, where you come from. And then I want to dive into your book. And the question that I know we both get asked a lot, which is, hey, real estate looks really cool. I want to be a realtor. What do I need to do? And we want to talk through that because this episode will probably be airing mid-December of 2020. And so I know a lot of people are getting through this wonderful year we have in 2020 and looking ahead. And this might give them some insight as to some new goals that they have. But let's hear about your background real quick.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm a second generation realtor. My mom's also in the business, and she's actually the broker owner of our brokerage. I come from started out younger watching my dad be an entrepreneur, owned his own company as well. And I think that's kind of where I got my spirit to do my own thing and be my own boss kind of thing. But I really didn't realize that until much later in life. I took the traditional role of going to college and getting my bachelor's and master's degrees. I have them both in education. And I found that teaching really wasn't my passion. I didn't like that 9 to 5 and kind of being told what to do. You think I would have learned that by being a little bit of a rebellious 13-year-old, but hey, I took that traditional route and went to school, graduated, taught for about 5 years in the system, and realized that this wasn't the right thing for me. Honestly, because I had my daughter and I didn't want to raise anyone else's child except my own. So I started my own kids fitness business because my background is in health education, and was struggling with it. I had it for about 2 years and had some clients, and I used my mom, who's a real estate agent, as my mentor to bounce ideas off of her in that sense. I was in her office one day and we were discussing, and her secretary brought her in a lead, on a piece of paper, a prospect. And she literally crumbled it up and threw it in the trash. And I'm like, there's like the aha moment and the light bulb went off. Like, I have time to work, those leads that you don't have time for. So she literally picked up the phone and said, here, I'll dial. And that's what happened. I enrolled in the course right then and there and took off from there. Yeah, so I started working with renters initially. Like that was my first year. All I did was run renters and have conversations with landlords. And then I started working my own little sphere and the PTA and all the clubs around me, and realized that this is going to grow and I'm going to be more of a buyer's agent. And that's how I started, really. I was the legs of our operation and her buyer's agent, and I just ran and that's kind of how I started, until I realized that, I could be making more money and leveraging myself a little bit better by, working with sellers. And now my business is 70-30 sellers to buyers split. So, I've grown and I've learned and realized that, taking on the right people and positioning yourself with the right coaches is really the best way to do it.
Love it. Yeah, no, I have the same. I was a little different path. I got into new home sales, but then when I got into real estate about 7 years ago, I focused on the seller side. So yeah. I totally understand what you're saying about that. So, but you need both, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think about a year or two ago, I realized that I was missing out on the buyer side, right? I was missing opportunities to capture. And that's when I started kind of this training and mentoring program so that I can train in newer agents to really do what I did and run the buyers for me in essence. I wouldn't say that I have a team. I'm more of a solo agent, but I have my right and left hand sidekick, so to speak, and they really helped me out, and we've been able to capture a lot of leads and take advantage of this wonderful market that we're working in right now, and really really do well and grow our business.
Awesome. So when you talk with other people, um, what are some of the things when they ask you about real estate, when they're trying to figure out if they want to get in the business, when you look back at your career, and I know things have changed, like technologies, it's been bad and good with it allows us to be more efficient, but then it's like, where do we stop with the social media and the all of that? What are some things that you have them kind of think about to see if real estate's even for them? If this role is something that would work for them, or is it, hey, maybe you need to work with sellers more, or buyers, or admin, or maybe not at all? Like, how do you kind of get them coached and figure it out? Because what I find a lot of times is people call me up and say, hey, let's go to coffee. I see you're pretty successful. You've been in the business a while. Real estate's hot. That's all everyone's talking about. I want to be a realtor. I want to have flexible schedule. I want to your point about your book, like I want to be able to make six figures. Like, how do I do that? And
Right.
so what are some of the things that you work them and walk them through?
Yeah, I really kind of reverse engineer everything with them to see what their goals are and why they really want to do what they
Yeah.
do. Like right now, I have a lot of waitresses, who through COVID obviously have kind of slacked
Right.
because of the situation. And they're
Totally.
like, oh, real estate, right? Like
Yep.
that's the next thing. So I've been coming across a lot of waitresses and people in the hospitality business who really want to take this real estate journey. And my thing is always, you have a background, right? We need to utilize your background in order to but make it mesh in real estate. So
Right.
it's not about transforming yourself and being this cookie cutter, I'll use real estate
Yep.
agent. It's about utilizing who you are and what background you come from and taking that, into real estate, and making it your own business and your brand.
So when you walk them through that, so what are you say you have 7 steps to make $100,000 a year. What are some things that you're seeing agents or new agents struggle with as they get into real estate? Either it's misconception of what it looks like to be an agent. I've had that happen a lot where I've had some people say, hey, I want to do this. And they're like, oh, but I don't want to work nights and weekends. And I'm like, well, when I take Wednesday, Thursday off during the week. So, and I work nights and weekends. I'm like, so, okay. So what is your thought process on what an agent does? So what are some of the things that you're seeing that they're having to be kind of educated on, or maybe level set, that maybe if they're watching TV or something like that, like I'll have doctor clients and they'll ask me something about real estate and they'll be like, oh, that's not how it looks like on TV. And I'm like, you're in the medical field, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, how many times do you watch like a Grey's Anatomy or something and you're watching it going, that's not even how you use that machine? And they're like, all the time. And I'm like, exactly. That's how TV real estate is.
Right, right. Like I think one of the misconceptions is that I can do this part time and
Yes.
and
Yes.
and still be profitable and have a nice little cozy business and close a few transactions. But that's not really creating the momentum, or you an entrepreneur. To me, you're just still collecting a paycheck.
Yeah.
And it's not your own business. So I think one of the misconceptions is I can be this weekend real estate agent and still work my other job.
Yep. Yep.
It doesn't work.
Right.
I
Exactly.
understand there comes a point, like I was a paycheck employee, right? And I was doing it part time, but I knew I wanted to grow, and ultimately sat down with my mom and said, "What do I need to do? I mean, I'm exhausting myself. I'm working two jobs. She goes, you have to let go of the paycheck." And
Yeah.
and it was scary. Trust me. Oh my gosh. I was a solo parent at the time, and it was scary to let go of that I knew I could put, and if you read the book, macaroni and cheese on the table, because that's where we were at the time. To being in this scary position to realize, and then realizing like, oh, I let go of my paycheck and I'm closing more deals. Now I can put steak on the table. So
Right.
that's where it came from, that letting go of that paycheck was really a big leap of faith, and utilizing who I was, and where I came from to catapult me to becoming a top producing agent.
Yeah. So when you talk to people, do you recommend they get on a team, or do you recommend they be a solo agent, or kind of what's the path that you recommend, or is it different depending on who you're talking to?
I mean, as agents, when we kind of come into this, it's very ego driven, right? Well,
Yeah.
as agents, it's kind of a,
Whoa, what do you? No, we don't have egos. I don't know what you're talking
yeah, I
about.
mean, no, not at all. Just a little bit, just a
Yeah.
little bit. But yeah, it's very ego driven. So to get onto a team, it's like, I don't need you, I don't need this. I'm still not on a team. Like I said, I have my right and left hand girls that I work with. Um, I choose to kind of be this solo agent, but I think having a mentor or a coach
Right.
is more important than maybe that initial team kind of experience. Although your
Right.
team leader typically gives you that mentoring and coaching that you're looking for. So it depends upon the team, and I think it's very individualized to your situation and honestly where you want to take your career.
Yeah, because your mom probably served as your mentor for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she's the broker still now, so
Yeah.
she's still, some things I still go to her with. But
Right.
no, yeah, my mom was definitely my mentor. And right now, I have this mentoring program kind of in place where new agents come on board, they mentor through me and then get filtered out into the brokerage. So, instilling a training program was key to the growth of our brokerage as well. So that's kind of where I am and where
Right.
kind of this book idea kind of came from. I realized that, we know the national statistics that like 86% of people leave the business in the first 2 years.
Yeah.
We were seeing that in our own brokerage and realized that we needed to instill a training program in order to keep them. That kind of held true. The numbers stayed and we grew as our training program grew. And I realized that if it's working in my own brokerage, it's got to help other agents and other brokers as well.
Right. So when somebody comes in, do you have a path for them? Like, um, a lot of agents, like old, kind of the more, I would say the old school route is the agent does everything themselves, right?
Hmm.
And then you had kind of the adoption of teams where you had maybe some administrative support and you still kind of work with the buyers and sellers and do more customer facing and still kind of handle the files. And then I'm seeing a trend, and I'm specialized myself where I specialize in a certain role, like just listings or just buyers
Right.
or just reloads or what have you. Is there a path that you take them on where you're like, hey, for the first 6 months, you're going to do inside sales and learn how to prospect, and then you're going to be a buyer's agent, and then once you do enough buyer deals, we're going to train you to be a listing agent? Or is it by their personality type and kind of those types of things? Or how do you kind of train them, and where do you put them in your
Yeah,
process?
that's a really good question. I would say it's not personality type, no, not at all, because it is kind of really structured based, but learning real estate from the inside out, knowing
Yeah.
the paperwork, right?
Yep.
I mean, that's huge. Really is able to transform you and your business so that you know how you want to run your business down the line.
Right.
So that's really what we do. We teach a lot of paperwork first,
Okay.
how to write offers, what a buyer agency agreement looks like, sounds like, feels like, tastes like,
Right.
because
Exactly.
that can be a little tricky in and
Yep.
of itself, especially here in New York where we don't do as much. And just what agency is. A lot of agents, I mean, we go through schooling here in New York in 75 hours. We don't understand what agency is or can even define it. So that in and of itself is like one training day with us. So I would say, yeah, it's more of like an inside admin, I would
Yep.
call, more administrative, and then buyer agency we go to, and then more of a listing and selling agent for sure. I would
Love
say
that.
that would be
Yeah.
more of the steps that we kind of take through our training program.
When I got brought in and would join my first team in 2013, 2014, I I happened to fall into the listing coordinator role because that person was going on maternity leave. And so I
Mm,
trained on listings, which is what I was going to be doing, but I did that listing coordinator role, putting listings on MLS, doing showing feedback, all that. And it was so great to have that knowledge, but most people don't go that path because they're
right.
straight wanting to get into sales. But I think you guys are being really smart about really giving your agents the foundation, because that's a huge factor in negotiation and getting their offer accepted maybe over another one. But by the way they write the contract, the way they communicate with the selling agent or buyer's agent, those are huge.
Yeah. Yeah, because now you're talking about interacting with other people and other ego or different personalities, right? And so it takes a little suaveness I guess, to kind of deal with other agents who may have that ego in place. And as a newer agent, you're just not versed or have the experience in it. So it makes sense to have some kind of mentor or training program or trainer, coach that you can work with to navigate with it. And I think that doesn't necessarily come from outside, but within the
Right.
brokerage as well.
Right. No, totally agree. So what are some of the things that you write about in your book, Become a Rockstar Real Estate Agent, 7 Steps to Making $100,000 a Year? First of all, just curious, why did you pick 100,000?
I think that's a platform for any new agent. That first six figures is just a huge goal for them to meet, for sure. I mean, we don't go in the business to make 20, 30, although some
Right.
people are happy with it, right? But
Sure.
we go in to, like, transform our lives and create a different lifestyle for ourselves, and 100K can do that.
Absolutely. So
Not
what
so
are the
much here
some
in
of
New York, maybe a little
Yeah,
bit more
exactly. I know, right? What are some of the things that you're walking them through that is making the difference in them being able to achieve that level of success versus just maybe some other levels?
Some other things, like I said, is the reverse engineering and what it takes on a daily basis, in order to achieve that first 100K. So we put them through a daily kind of tracking system where they track how many points they get in the day, and we should be hitting about 61 points. Each kind of money making activity, that's like cold calling, sending out emails, text messages, prospecting in
Right.
essence,
Okay.
is giving a value or point system. And we want our agents to hit these 61 points every day on a daily basis, because then they're going to be able to see what they're doing or not doing, and if they're converting, or what's transforming in their business by tracking this.
Do you ever work with somebody or have somebody that wants to get into real estate that they're like, once I get licensed, I'm just going to print cards and people are going to call me?
I think I do teach that sphere of influence kind of is really your go-to initially, having a top 50 um, people in your sphere that are going to refer you business, and like a dirty dozen, your attorneys, title people, things like that, who are going to also refer you business. But yeah, there are some agents who just kind of, and it blows my mind that you just want to plop your license in a brokerage and not do anything with it, or send out a mailer every 3 to 6 months.
Right.
People, statistics will show, and science actually shows, that people don't recognize you until the ninth time that they see you.
Right.
So if you're only going to do it every quarter, it's not going to be effective for 2 years.
Right. And then where do you think personal branding plays a role in your agents, either the new ones or even the seasoned ones, just, building their brand, building their authority, their awareness in the community with their clients? What are you seeing there and how do you kind of guide them? Because there's so much out there on social that you could do.
Yeah, I think it's just being true to yourself. I mean, I was able to capture my maiden name, right? Because my mom was in the business, right? So I was able to use that to kind of brand myself in and of my own. I've definitely ventured away from that, where her business and my business are two totally separate entities. But yeah, I think it's utilizing your background. So if you're the PTA mom, or you belong to your church group, I think those are the networks, and that's who you kind of lead and gravitate towards, because people are going to work with you because they know and like you, and they know who
Right.
you are. So that's really your branding, that comes out. And then I think it becomes, we're very nuclear. You should be, in my opinion, very nuclear in the beginning, where you're just working a small core, and then it kind of spreads out into this big cluster as you grow.
Yeah. And then what are you seeing as we go into 2021? I know 2020 has just been kind of an odd year. Um, Interest rates are still low. Market's still, I'm sure, pretty hot, especially up there. Inventory levels, are they low right now?
Oh, inventory, we only have about a 3 month supply here in our local market. Our absorption rate just continues to fall and fall,
Yeah.
even in some of the smaller markets around us. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing no inventory whatsoever. And just a plethora of buyers who are really just fleeing New York City, just to get away from, the high-rise buildings and apartment buildings that they're living in, just because of the nature of COVID and kind of the way that it hit. They're either
Right.
heading out to Long Island where I am, or traveling up north, or just leaving New York State in and of itself.
And how are you guys reaching out or getting in front of those buyers? Is it it's your sphere that just lives in New York City, or is it you're running ads, or are you doing targeted marketing to get their attention?
I would say more targeted marketing for sure. I'm utilizing, Facebook and social media in that
Yeah.
sense. I have a pretty decent sized database where I send out a weekly email as to what's happening in the Long Island market.
Yep.
That's been consistent for me for over 2 years, and that's kind of helped me stay in front of people. Through COVID, I offered a virtual home buying and selling program, and it was put out there, and I was able to capture on that. I mean, I listed 7 properties through COVID while we were in the shutdown. Never even saw the house, nor
Yeah, me too.
the buyer, didn't even meet the seller except
Face to
virtually.
face. Yeah.
And it worked out in and of itself. So I continue to list and sell through COVID,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty thankful for that. But going into the new year, are things going to change? Not, I don't think so. Not
Yeah.
much. Not much. I think that we will have some sort of slowdown, but I don't think it'll look like, 2007 or 8.
Yeah. And then as we head into the new year, how are you helping your agents, whether they're new or seasoned, kind of look at their business and either goal set to it or focus on other things if they're wanting personal growth and development? Like, how are they doing that and honing all that in?
Yeah, we really figure out a plan of action for them in 5 areas. That's their career, first of all, finances, health and wellness, spiritual growth, as well as personal growth. So we really figure out a goal setting plan for them, and it's just a conversation and writing down your goals and what you want, and then again reverse engineering what are you going to do on a daily basis in order to achieve these goals. So I remember last year one of my mentees' goals was to drink more water. Okay, so what are we going to do to make sure that you drink more water so that you stay healthy and maybe lose 10 pounds or something?
Sure.
I went out and bought her a water bottle and said, you drink, this much each day at this time, and it was basically really structured and helped her stay focused in the goal.
Do you think that that's something that most people coming into real estate or already are in real estate, they're surprised by is that structure, is that leads to success? Because I think so many people think of real estate like, oh, I can be flexible and make my own rules. But what they really find if they allow that to happen is if they don't have that structure, that not necessarily the 9 to 5 structure, but they still need some structure to give them some of that success.
Yeah, a lot of people just like coming in, like you said, I totally agree with you. Is like I'm just gonna kind of come in when the spirit moves me, and I go into the office or I take out a buyer. But no, for me and what we teach our agents is block planning.
Okay.
Whether you're a part-time agent or a full-time agent, is what are you doing consistently and what does your schedule look like? If you're not going to work Tuesday or Thursday nights to be home with your family, then set that time up and put it on paper that's family time.
Yeah.
If you're going to prospect from 8 to 10 in the morning, then that's what you do from 8 to 10, and to stay on track is really the best way to go. But yeah, a lot of agents come in thinking that they can just pull this off somehow and not have the structure in place, because whether you're in real estate or any other business, having the structure is going to be key, and creating more of this holistic approach to business. Like we talked about, the 5 areas that we really concentrate on with our new agents. For me, is total super important. A lot of people will say, well, how does my spiritual life come into play with my business? Super huge, though. They don't make the connection, but if you're not thankful for what you have today, there's no way that you're going to achieve the goals that you want to achieve for tomorrow.
Yeah. No, totally agree. So do you have a set, like, do you recommend, they're at their desk by a certain point, or are your agents in the brokerage, are they working virtually, or kind of how do you help them manage that?
I would say we have more of this hybrid kind of system going on at this time. Our office is, full on some days, but yet, empty on others. So, I'm all about listening to other people who are in the business. So to be in the office, for me and what we teach agents is pretty key to be
Yeah.
present. But we're still training virtually. All of our meetings are Zoomed or a free conference call, so people still have access to us, whenever they want it, basically.
And then if an agent's listening to this right now, can they enroll in your program even if they're not part of your brokerage?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I'd love to be able to kind of go on and mentor and coach other agents if they're listening, for sure. I'd love to give them a special Christmas gift too, where they can download the book for free or listen to it on Audible as well. So for sure, I can give you that
Awesome.
link when
Yeah,
we're
we'll
ready.
include that link in the show notes. Um, so is there anything that you're seeing that is making the difference in the people that are succeeding and staying in the business past that 2 years? Besides just the structure of what you're doing, is there something else special that you're like, man, this really is really making a difference? Because I mean, I don't remember the numbers. I think they're saying now the average agent sells 3 to 4 homes a year, or something like that, to where it was like a net income of $29,000.
Yeah, something like that.
And you're going, oh my, and then people don't understand that you have to actually pay to be an agent with the fees and things like that. So how do they break through some of those levels, especially in those first couple of years?
Yeah, I think having that mentoring program within a brokerage is huge. I mean, you'll be out in the world in the real estate world as an agent and come across some issues. And if you don't have someone to bounce, ideas off of, or, are able to tap into someone else's experience, even just listening to the way a top producing agent speaks to clients, attorneys, home inspectors, if you don't have that in place, I think that is what makes you successful in that, whether you have the right people that you surround yourself with.
Right.
We're noticing that, yeah. I mean, when we didn't have a mentorship program in the beginning, but our best agents
Yeah.
have gone through mentoring.
And then I don't want this to be a negative question, but then do you turn down agents to your brokerage if you feel like they're not aligned with kind of your your mission and values and that
Yeah.
kind of thing? I mean, I get it. Not everyone's going to want to make crazy money and work 20, 80 hours a week, but do you guys kind of have some standards that you go, you know what, if you're not willing to do X, Y, or Z, this just isn't a good fit. We don't want to take on the investment of time and energy, and we don't want to mislead you as well.
Yeah, every agent comes on as a 90. As much as you as the agent are interviewing the brokerage, we are interviewing
Okay.
you too.
Perfect.
So we come in with a 90-day probation period to see
Uh-huh.
what your level of dedication is like, and we outline that plan when we go over, what you're supposed to be doing, what this kind of looks like, things like that. And then, and we set a goal date during that interview as when do you want to be a full-time agent.
Okay.
So we understand that there's a transition period from part-time to full-time, but yet when's the date? And we kind
Right.
of set it in stone. Like if you don't want to be a full-time agent, then we're not a good fit to work together. And you can go work down the block at another agency.
Right. And then I know we talked a little bit about the personal branding. Do you guys as a brokerage recommend that they have like a content strategy where they're posting property posts? Do you have an opinion on any of that kind of stuff? What do you do personally for your own properties? Because I've heard there's so many opinions on what to share as an agent. And I think there's a lot of valid points, but on either side, whatever it is, whether it's a property post, some people feel like if you share it, that means you're bragging. Some people feel like if you, including myself, if you share it in the right way, it's showing expertise and what you serve, so that if you've got someone looking in that area, they're aware that you actually work there. But what are some of the things that you're seeing in social that are beneficial, and what are some of the things you're like, yeah, we don't do that, we don't like the way that feels?
Again, I'm a very individualized person. And listen, I'm not a big social media person personally, but I'm a rock star real estate agent. I'm posting all my listings. I'm posting my
Yeah.
closings. I'm posting my contracts, right? And yeah, is there a balance? Sure, that I show some personal things that are going on in my life, as well as the business side of it. Yeah, but I mean, we're always in the ballpark, or we at least teach kind of like 2 to 1, two kind of salesy.
Yeah.
I'll use pitches to one kind of one personal pitch,
Yeah.
so to speak, and let people know. Because again, you are your brand. As a real estate
Totally.
agent,
No, I
you
agree.
are your brand, right? Like you are everything, and people are gonna want to work and know who you are and what you do. I mean, your look, Stephanie, in and of itself is your brand, right? I mean, so I'm sure there are people who don't want to work with you, or based upon that as well. So it's give and take, but
Right.
you're when you become the rock star real estate agent, you get to pick and choose who you really want to work with too.
Yeah. So when you got someone that's coming in, if they're willing to hit the ground running, do everything you say to do in your book, what do you usually see? Are they rocking it? Like I usually tell people, hey, especially if they're leaving a salary, you want to have some reserves built up financially, or if you have a partner or spouse that's working, because to think it's just different, right? Like if you
Hmm,
sell, whether it's a new construction home and maybe it has to be built, or if you sell a house today, you may not get paid for 45 days, depending on
sure.
the timeline. So what are you seeing as far as how are you coaching them on even managing like their finances initially? Because I feel like there's a bit of a ramp that maybe some people don't realize because it is commission.
Yeah, I mean, and we're even longer here in Metro New York, where our closings are more like 60 to 90
Oh,
days
wow.
out
Okay.
from
Contract.
contract to close. So yeah, it becomes definitely, a way for you to manage things. And that's why, holding on to that paycheck, we understand is pretty key in the beginning. But I think there comes a time, especially when people think, how am I going to market? I don't have the money
Right.
to do this. First, it's about leveraging more of your time
Mhm.
as opposed to money. And don't view money as spending money, right? It's not your personal finances, because this is a business. It's
Right.
more about making the investment, whether that's in some kind of getting some kind of marketing and automation in place, or sending out flyers and postcards and investing that way. But in the beginning, I try to teach that it's about really marketing, or managing your time and leveraging your time for money in the beginning, because we don't have much marketing money to spend initially.
Right. And then what do you find is the best way to stay in touch with your past clients, with your database so that they do call? Because I think the statistic is something like 80 something percent of clients say they'll use their agent again, and then 11% of them do.
Right, right. My weekly email has been pretty poignant for me. It's been pretty good and key, and just kind of keeping me in the faces. I have some automations and systems set up where they'll also receive any sellers that kind of come in. They're automatically receiving a CMA right now. I don't
Mhm.
even have to do the work. I mean, the knowledge
Yeah.
is right out there. They know what their home is worth. I mean,
Right.
going into listing appointments, they're telling me what their home is
Oh,
worth
yeah.
days, right? So there you have to provide some value proposition and servicing for
Right.
them. But yeah, we have some automated systems in place where they just get the information because it's already out there. But I think that's pretty key too, because you just need to look at yourself as a business.
Right. And when you're sending out your weekly email, especially if it's what I'm finding is if it's clients that have just closed, like I just bought a new car. I really don't care about cars now for probably another couple of years, right? Or
Right.
interest rates. So what are some of the things that you're talking about in your email to your clients and sphere that they're wanting to open up your email?
Oh, that's a good question. I think my database is kind of mixed between with buyers and sellers, so I do treat it that way and post some things in there that make sense for both people. Whether that's, I think refinancing right now is pretty key, and I
Yeah.
consistently put that in there, and just the interest rates, as well as how high the market is, and really what they can get for their home at this point. And even the virtual home buying and selling program, people have been like, well, what's that? How do I
Right.
find out about it? So having a little twist on it has been kind of helpful as well. But the
Nice.
email, the drip email, pretty
Yeah.
big for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not huge on the CRMs, trust
Right.
me.
Right.
I
Yeah.
still have my spreadsheets. The CRMs for me never worked. Why? Because I never used them. That's
Yeah.
really ultimately what it came down to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. Awesome. So I have 5 questions that I ask each guest before we close up, and then we'll talk about your book and we'll get the link for them if someone wants to download it and to get a hold of you if they want more additional coaching, mentoring, training, that kind of thing. But what's one thing that most people don't know about you?
Oh, that I'm super quiet at home.
Are you serious? Is it because you're
Yeah,
tired of talking to people all day? Because you talk to people all day long? That's why I'm like that at home too.
yeah, yes, exactly. My daughter will be like wanted to talk about her day, and I'm just like,
Pride.
I do, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm super quiet at home. I'm really this kind of not this rock star agent. I guess is just really who I am and part of my branding,
It's
right?
your brand. Yeah. It's your alias.
But at home, I'm pretty quiet. Yeah, I live a pretty normal life.
Okay. Question 2 is 2-part. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Slow and steady always wins the race.
Love it. Love it. Especially in this day and age. And what's the best piece of advice you want to give the audience today?
um, that Oh, that's a good one. I want to tell them to always be making things happen. I think that's, if you're not, if you need to be moving, and that doesn't necessarily be hustling and working hard, but if you make things happen, things will happen.
Love it. Always be in action. All right. Question 3. What's your favorite book or one that's had the greatest impact on you?
You know what? It is Make 'em Beg to Be Your Client by Dr. Angela Lauria. It just talks about, she's a publisher, and she talks about how to get people to become authors and their clients in the book. And it really, she talks about this whole love sales method as well. And it really is a great book. It's fun to listen to too.
Love it. Okay, cool. I love listening in the car on the way to appointments.
Yeah, that's huge for me. I'm either on a podcast in the car or an Audible book
Same
for
here.
sure.
Your book's on Audible though, right? I can
Yes,
get it
it
on
is.
Audible. Okay, I'll get it on Audible. Okay, what's your current morning routine? This is one of my favorite questions because I love just seeing how other top producers, like, how do you structure everything? So what does your morning routine look like? You're like,
Oh,
but everybody hates the question because they're always like, the one that I want to do or the one that I actually do, Stephanie?
no, I'm pretty rigid in routines. I mean, I get up at 5:30.
Okay,
Um,
wait, stop there. Okay. Okay. I just talked to another podcast guest. She said the exact same thing.
yeah.
And I think it's really important. And I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling with some time management right now because with what we do, we have a lot of choices, right? There's nobody
Mhm.
saying we have to be at the office at this time to check a box or check in. So why do you get up that early? How do you get up that early? And what does it do for you? Because I think so many people get into entrepreneurship, because that's the big word right now, or real estate, and or even new home sales, right? Because they go to the office at 10 and leave at 7. So I work with a lot of builders. My husband works in that world still. What does that do for you, and why do you do it? Because I think that's a big misconception that we are so flexible, but it's so important for the morning time.
Why do I do it? Number one, the kids have to be out of school, out on the bus by 7:30. So we're out of the house by 7:30, 7:45. But I get up, if I've been doing this for some time, I get up at 5:30. I walk the dog for 20, 30 minutes. And then I come back and do a little journaling, as well as just a morning prayer for me. It just helps my day start out right and am grounded in the day, and it just helps me stay present in the moment too. So by 6:30. My partner and I are starting to cook breakfast and pack lunches to get the kids out the door. Um, and that's the day, and then that's the morning, I would say. And by 8:30, I'm typically in my office or at the home computer, where I start prospecting till 10. I'll take any phone calls or do some administrative work from 10 to 12, and then go on appointments in the afternoon from 1 to 4, 5. home, and I don't answer the phone until from 4 to 7, and then I answer calls or have set appointments from 7 till about 8:30.
So, for anybody listening, whether you're in new home sales, if you're just in sales in general, if you're a real estate agent, what I just heard Jennifer say, she has a structured day. Can it move around here and there? I'm sure it's a little fluid, but it sounds like she batches when she checks emails, when she checks phone calls and messages, so that unless it's an emergency, if a call is coming in at 4:30 and she's blocked to not answer her phone from 4 to 7, she's just going to put it off a few hours.
Yeah, I mean, when people call in, I mean, you can simply set it up in your phone right now where you link it to your Calendly and people can schedule a call back with you. I simply put in, hey, I'm unavailable, but here's a link to my Calendly, set up a time to call me so that both people are available too, and I'm not wasting time calling them back, you
Exactly.
know? So I field the phone calls at specific times of the day.
Versus what a lot of us do, which is what? React all day long. And what
I,
what would happen if you let that if you
yeah.
did that?
Yeah, no, I was that reactive agent, and the world became chaos for me. I mean, it was really like fielding calls for other agents, like, how do I show your property? It's like the directions are on the MLS. Why can't
Yes.
you read it? I don't have time to take this call, right? Or give you showing instructions. So yeah, I've developed more. I'm going through, and I'm really developing more of an automation system where I can just be, you know, work less and definitely play more and be home more.
No, I love it. I love it. And then how do you unplug and unwind?
Oh, good question. I mean, we're really tied up with the kids' schedules and stuff. Like this weekend, we're going to softball in Jersey. That really watching them play and have fun is really
Yeah.
a time for us. 2 weeks ago, we went to an indoor water park. So, setting up those little mini vacations
Yeah.
are pretty fun. And that's typically how I unwind. A glass of wine once a week helps.
There you go. There you go. All right. So if people want to get your book, how do they do so?
Yeah, by all means, download the book for free at rockstaragenttraining.com. Would love to connect with you there, as well as on Facebook. That's my little social media platform that I really utilize at Facebook / Seeno Tucker.
Awesome. All right. Anything else you want to share?
No, this has been great. I love it. I want to know who your hairstylist is. So when I come to Texas, I can get that haircut. I'm so digging it and I love it. I just don't think I can pull it off.
Thank you. Well, you want to hear a funny story? So I always talk about dream boards, right? So I think it's really important once a year. And whenever someone says to me, like, hey, help me I'll help decorate and do stuff for people, like my family and stuff. And I'm like, okay, we need to start with some inspiration. So they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, go on Pinterest and start pinning anything that you like in this category or range or whatever. We're building some cabins and I have cabin inspiration boards. And even if it's not like it's going in the cabin, if I love it, I'm pinning it, right? And then somehow
Right.
it just shows up. So I thought about 10 years ago, I was like, oh, I want to grow my hair out. And I had a short bob. I had like the inverted bob, kind of like the John and Kate +8 look.
Okay.
Before hers got really like, it looked like Spike, So I thought I'm going to grow my hair out. So I go on Pinterest and I start pinning all these hairstyles. And about 10 minutes later, I realized, Stephanie, you have 20 pictures of Halle Berry, like in this pixie cut. And I love it. And so I took it to my hairstylist and said, okay, this is what I want. And she's like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I guess. Cause I
Really?
kept pinning all these pixie hairstyles and then it turned into a faux hawk. But yeah, thank you. So yeah,
All right.
totally. Come to Dallas, I'll give you her
All
book.
right. You bet.
Yes, absolutely.
Very cool.
Cool. Well, I am so jealous you're in New York. I mean, I know it's probably different with COVID and all that, but I know you're on Long Island, but I can't wait to go back. I hope it gets better soon, but
By all means, when you come, let me know.
awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. You had so much insight and I can't wait to start listening to your book.
All right. Very cool, Stephanie. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And thanks for letting me be a guest here.
Absolutely.